Hi, I'm Morgan Swan. I'm the Special Collections Education and Outreach Librarian at Rauner Special Collections Library here at Dartmouth College. Rauner Library is the primary repository on campus for the rare books, manuscript collections, and archival materials of the college. We have about 140,000 rare books. We have about 7 linear miles of archival and manuscript material. We think we're the coolest place on campus. And we're glad that you're here because we want to show you some of those cool things that we have in our collections. So this is National Poetry Month, and because of that, I've pulled a really cool couple of items from the manuscript collections that we have, specifically from the Richard Eberhardt papers. We are fortunate enough here at Rauner to have the first true printing of Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl from 1956. This is actually a mimeograph copy of the poem before it was printed at Lawrence Ferlinghetti's City Lights bookstore. And we're very fortunate to have this. The reason that we have this is because Allen Ginsberg sent it to Richard Eberhardt, who at the time was a professor of English at Princeton University and also a well-renowned poet. Ginsberg knew that Eberhardt was going to write an influential article in the New York Times about the poetry scene on the West Coast. And he had been out in San Francisco and had actually heard Allen reading Howl and had spoken with him at that time about it. Richard thought that the poem was unproductive. He felt that it was very sort of nihilistic, and Allen disagreed. So Allen knew that he would be writing that article, so 3 weeks later Allen sent him a mimeograph copy of Howl, and we actually have the envelope right here that he sent it to Richard Eberhardt in. We got it because Richard Eberhardt is a was a Dartmouth undergrad, and he then later was a professor of English here at Dartmouth College for about 30 years. Another item that we have that is really cool is a first edition of the City Lights printing of Howl, and it's signed by Allen Ginsberg to Richard Eberhardt, along with all kinds of crazy drawings. Allen was known for that sort of thing. There's a stem of William Blake, who was a huge influence on Ginsberg. There are some other great little drawings, but he says in here, for Richard Eberhardt, in gratitude for his original vision of nature, both in his poetry and his early sympathy for mine. After getting this from Ginsberg, Eberhardt went on to write a really positive review of Ginsberg and of Howl, and they believe that that is what actually started sort of opened the floodgates for publishing all of the beat poets and beat writers. So Jack Kerouac, for example, his book On the Road was fast-tracked by Viking Press suddenly after many, many months of delay. So these are some of the cool poetry that we have to celebrate National Poetry Month. But I also wanted to show you all something that's a little closer to home. We recently were cataloging some, we have like a backlog of books that are minimally described, so they're kind of hard to find. And so we were trying to improve the ability to locate them. And we stumbled across this little beauty. It doesn't look like much, and actually the contents are probably pretty boring. An oration on early education. So what's really fascinating about this is that it says that it was printed by Alden Spooner in Dresden in 1779. This is an interesting little look into Vermont history because in 1777, Vermont declared its own independence and became the Republic of Vermont. It wasn't allowed into statehood by the Continental Congress because New York and New Hampshire were fighting over who actually owned that area or that territory, and so instead Vermont just said, well, we're our own thing. And so at this time, from 1777 until 1791, Vermont was a republic, and it actually tried to join Quebec, but was rebuffed, and then finally became the 14th state of the United States of America in 1791. But this is an interesting little look into the history of the area because Alden Spooner was the first printer in Vermont, and he had the first printing press in Vermont, but the press was actually operated out of Dartmouth Hall because during that brief window of the Republic, they claimed towns, or actually rather villages, on the east side of the Connecticut River as belonging to the Republic of Vermont, and that included the campus of Dartmouth College and Dartmouth Hall. So it's a fascinating little look into Vermont history, because Alden Spooner, the first printer in Vermont, actually did his printing initially in Dartmouth Hall on the eastern side of the Connecticut River, which is kind of cool. Also, there is some speculation that the press that he used may have actually been the first press brought to the United States, or to America rather, and so it would have been the one that printed the base Psalm book. There's no proof of that, so it's kind of like more of an urban legend than anything else, but it definitely is the first press that was ever used in Vermont, and it is actually now on display at the Vermont Historical Society. You can go and see it there. So we're here in Rauner Special Collections Library at Dartmouth College. We have so many cool things here in our library, and a lot of people don't realize it, but Rauner is open to the public. So anyone in the community can just walk in and go to the front desk and say, "Show me something cool," and we will find you something cool. My name is Morgan Swan. I'm the Special Collections Education and Outreach Librarian, and I hope to see you here at Rauner soon.